This edition of Mac Voices is supported by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Visit TakeControlBooks.com to find out what you can learn. And by Mac Voices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like Mac Voices, Mac Voices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at MacVoices.com/magazine or search for Mac Voices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we have something a little different today. We have the launch of a new online magazine. And that's kind of exciting, especially given some of the things we're seeing in the publication industry, the print publication, the online publication industry. It seems like things are just shifting every day. And so this is going to be fun. What makes it more interesting is that this is part Polish Apple magazine and part U.S. Apple magazine. So with that, I'm going to just let the gentlemen who are putting this together talk it through. First up, you know him, and he teased us the last time he was here with this, and so now we get him back to tell us all the details. Mr. Steve Sande. Steve, great to see you as always.
And it's great to see you again, Chuck. It seems like we were just on a couple of weeks ago. So
and you said, well, there was something coming, and I said, let me know when. So here we are. So we're making good on our threats.
Yes, we are.
Next up, on the other side of, well, not exactly the world, but...
Well, what we're kind of proud to announce is My Apple magazine. It's an English language version of a similar publication that first came out, I believe, in June of this year from myapple.pl, which is Krystian's website. And basically, I have been involved in writing articles for the Polish version of the magazine since the beginning there. I think lately I've kind of been, haven't been writing too many articles because we were working on getting the English language version going as well. But the great thing about this, it's an electronic magazine. When Krystian first approached me about writing some articles for it, I think I was still working for TUA at the time. And then, of course, we had to switch over to Apple World Today. The design of the magazine is just great. And I think the focus is something that people are really going to love. To be honest with you, I've seen some of the other I guess you could say Apple-oriented magazines that have come and quite a few of them have also gone in the past. And what I've found is that not a lot of them keep the focus on all things Apple or all things technical. Instead, they start drifting. And what I mean by that is you'll suddenly get somebody talking about and I shouldn't say this because Krystian is one heck of a guitar player, but I'll say, suddenly you have articles about guitar playing, or you have articles about, something that's completely off topic, and that's great. But I think what we're finding is that there's a lot of interest in just being able to sit down, with an iPad or an iPhone and look through a magazine and see a focus on the thing that we really love. And like I said, although I can't read the articles that I write at this point, because I definitely do not read or speak Polish, but looking at the magazine as it's put together right now, it's very beautiful, nicely laid out, a lot of good graphics in it, and I well, like I said, I've seen the initial English version that should be out shortly. Very, very excited about this project, and thrilled that they asked Apple World Today to be partners in bringing the magazine to the English-speaking audiences.
So, Krystian, how about from your side? My Apple is something that is in existence already from the conversations we've had. It's published in Polish. I think you also said it has a Spanish version as well. Am I correct with that?
Yes. MyApple.pl, I dare say it's the oldest and the biggest Polish Apple user site. It's been on for about 10 years. And I joined MyApple like 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, I was like a freelance blogger with my own blog. But I started with my blogging about Apple at myapple.pl. And when I joined the forces and became editor-in-chief of myapple.pl, I asked Tomek, who is the owner of myapple.pl, that we should have a magazine, and we should have a magazine which will be focused on Apple. Because, as Steve said, there is also Polish magazines, like digital magazines, that are, well, focused on Apple, but only in part. So they write about, I don't know, like how to make apple cake, or some of them even reviews like perfumes or something like that. So it's a lifestyle. They are lifestyle magazines, and I prefer to read about Apple. It doesn't mean that it must be very, very strict technical stuff, but there is a lot of things that we can read about Apple and write about Apple that won't be technically focused, because the Apple world is so huge, so wide, that there's a lot of topics we can actually put in. And when we start to think about a magazine, my requirement was to keep focus on Apple, but write about all the things Apple can do. I have my own podcast, which is called, in Polish, is Diabelskie Ustrojstwa, in English would be Diabolical Machines, and it's about Apple, and Apple is only like a kind of the base for the discussion about other different topics. And this kind of attitude I had, and I still have, about our magazine. And so I asked Steve. Actually, we made a decision that we have to have our magazine 2 years ago, in 2014, and March, on the Pier 23, I think, bar in San Francisco, having beer with my friends from myapple.pl. And it took a lot of time to decide to start actually work on the magazine. And when we were about to start, I asked Steve, because we were used to meet every year at Macworld in San Francisco. And it also took us another couple of months to start the Polish version. It's because a lot of things happened, not only Apple related, but also like we are people, we have lives. So there was some tragedies, some good things happened, and that's why it was postponed a bit. And we were also when we released first edition of the Polish My Apple magazine, we're also afraid about how what people will think about it, and how many people will read it. And in terms of Polish Apple user base, let's say, we send it to about 200,000 registered users of myapple.pl, and the people could also download each issue through the site. We got about 60,000 downloads, individual downloads of each issue. So for Polish market, that was like, we are huge, let's say, in Poland. And the feedback from the people was excellent. Like I couldn't believe that actually, that people really liked our writing. When you write on the blog, on the myapple.pl, on any Polish site, you have a lot of hate, a lot of trolling and all that stuff. So I was also a bit afraid, what people will think about our magazine. But the feedback was pretty good, and almost instantly, we got also feedback from our friends. Polish friends, but also, from people from United States, from England, from Ireland, and even from the other parts of the world, that we should actually release our magazine in English. So we start to think about it, and probably in the middle of September, I just sent text message to Steve that I think it's time to do that, and then we just got to work, and it's almost ready. It should be released in about a couple of days.
So, if not, when this show goes live very shortly after. I'm really intrigued, though, why you felt, and I'll just throw this out to both of you, and whoever wants to answer it can. Why a magazine at this point? Now, I'm quick to say that without calling any references to anything Steve said, Jim Dalrymple publishes a magazine. Don McAllister publishes a magazine. Both of those are standalone publications. I curate MacVoices magazine on Flipboard. So there is this desire, I think, to gather things together in a focused fashion. I'm personally with you two. I really prefer the focused things. The lifestyle stuff is fun at times, but for my taste, there's often a little too much fluff and not enough meat. So I try to keep mine focused, and it sounds like that's what you're going to do. But why a magazine format, and what format will this be in? Is it a PDF or is it something proprietary?
Well, we will have, it's PDF for sure, but we have two different versions, let's say. You can download PDF file, and it's the layout is prepared for the iPad or in general tablets. But the app for iOS and Android, that's I know it's a sin, but we are also have an app for Android, and we'll provide different two versions, iPad version and iPhone version. So our graphic designer actually do two magazines at a time. One is for iPad, one is for iPhone with different layout. So you can read it easily on the smaller screen. And so it will be available via the direct download from the site, via the application for iOS and Android. And I think that's the two channels that you can get it. And of course, probably newsletter, like we do with the Polish version.
Yeah, and Chuck, kind of point in the direction of why are we doing, a magazine version there? Well, I think my wife probably, I always talk about Barb, because she provides me with a good grounding in what non-nerds really think about, everything that's going on here. And we were talking over the last weekend. We went on a little driving trip, and we got to talking about just the, how you're constantly getting hit with these little bits of information, short articles, tweets, little Facebook posts, this, that, and the other thing. And we both kind of commented, the one thing that we really find to be almost relaxing these days is being able to sit down and read something that's in a much longer form, that has a little bit more style, a little bit more graphical content. That's not to say that we actually go out and subscribe to a lot of magazines, even if the electronic version. But both of us have found that we're trying to focus a little bit more on the longer content, the longer story, than just the little blog bits that we see all the time. And I think, from what Krystian has mentioned here, they saw that especially with the initial Polish version of My Apple magazine, was that people like that format. They like to be able to sit down, read something that's very focused and very oriented towards something that they love, and get more information than just yet another little blurb that's on a website. So, I think, like you said, there are definitely other magazines that are out there. Some of them, like I said, I feel have kind of gone off the rails a little bit in terms of content. One thing that Krystian and I had talked about early on was I've been around. Well, you know how old I am, Chuck. I think you're about the same age. So
bite your tongue.
He's much younger than I am. But one thing that I'm hoping that I can do, as we progress in this is try to bring a little bit more, what's the word for it? Context to some of the folks who haven't been in the Apple community for 20 or 30 years, and be able to show that, hey, this didn't just pop into existence overnight. We're actually, seeing the results of a lot of hard work by a lot of people, since 1976. And, it's kind of a miracle that this company still exists and is as huge as it is now. But, I'm hoping that we can provide that kind of background as a historical grounding for people who are new to the Apple world.
A lot of little questions here that I want to try to get to. First off, is this going to be? I hesitate to say repurposed content because that is not what I mean. But is there going to be content from the respective websites that are folded into the magazine, or is all the content going to be original in the magazine? And if so, then does it make its way back out to the web at all?
Well, most of the content, I think, will be completely fresh and original. For the first issue, I'll probably do just one article is repurposed, which is about my trip to Ukraine, to Kiev. And, it's hard to say, the content is not repurposed. It's like some of the articles came from the Polish version. So for the English-speaking readers, they will be completely new. And but we prefer to write original content for the magazine, and of course, it can be repurposed later on the website. So what we do on My Apple, articles from the My Apple magazine Polish edition are republished later, 2 or 3 weeks later on the site. So this way, yes, different direction, we prefer not to do so.
Okay. Second question. You both were talking about technical content and all, and having it Apple focused. Is this going to be Apple how-tos and Apple tech, or is it going to be Apple news and analysis, as in Johnny Ive stories and Tim Cook stories, or are you going to stick kind of to the nuts and bolts, or is it going to be a mixture as you see fit?
I think. Just judging from what we're seeing with the first issue, it's going to be a kind of a potpourri. I love that term, but just a mixture, a crazy mix-up of not only some, I won't call them how-to articles, but more, here are some of the features of El Capitan that are really compelling, and here's why. The type of thing that you will see on a website. But also, like I said, some things with a more historical aim. One of the articles that will be in the first issue is really it was really kind of fun because Krystian, when he first asked me to write for the Polish version of the magazine, I said, it'd be kind of fun because I think a lot of people don't realize how things have progressed over the years. So I wrote it was a personal history, starting back when I was in, I think it was 8th grade, and we had a Model 33 teletype that was connected to a mini computer that the school system owned. And this is like 1969, 5 years before Krystian was born. And I was doing basic programming, So it was, it was a fun article. It was a very personal article. In there, I talked about a friend of mine who passed away I think it was 3 years ago now, strangely, of the same disease that killed Steve Jobs. It was pancreatic cancer. But that friend and I, when we were college students, built a MITS Altair. That was, at the time, that was the only way you made a personal computer. And it was interesting to see how our careers kind of went off. He went and started designing mobile chips. I went off and was an engineer for many years, and then got into IT and somehow became a writer. So, like I said, historical, fun pieces like that as well. One photo essay that you're going to see, and I think we're going to see a lot more of these down the road. Krystian and that was it Tomek?
Tomek, yes.
Yeah, who went. Well, you can see his shirt there. Apple Store Kurfürstendamm,
Berlin.
Berlin. They actually took a driving trip from Poland over to the store for the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus premiere there. And they did a really fun and very personal photo essay. And, just showing, that this isn't something that we just see in malls in the United States. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It's something that happens everywhere. Maybe in some cases a little bit different purpose, as you'll find out in Krystian's article.
Yeah, there's another reason, why you ask about how we, let's say, differentiate from the other magazines. And I think important factor, it's the mixture of souls, I would say. Kind of, Steve and Dennis are from the United States, and we are from Poland. And it's a little bit different words. You know what I mean? It's like we have a little bit different attitude to things. We see things a bit different from. It's I don't know why. Probably Polish people have different. I don't know, kind of. So as I said, we are a bit different. And when I was translating, the word translating is not very, very, very accurate in this case, because you cannot translate word to word English article to Polish. So you have to think about it. You have to put it in sometimes different words, but you can keep the soul of the writer. And what people like also in the Polish version is like they can feel that the article was written by the person from the United States. Another one was written from the Polish person. So I think this could be also kind of factor that could attract people. Like you can read about some things you probably know, but from a different perspective. So I think that would be also catchy.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. The Take Control team has been busy publishing books that are among the best ways to learn some of the most important software titles in the Mac space. In Take Control of Your Apple Wi-Fi network, Glenn Fleischman makes sure your wireless connection to your Mac, iPhone, iPad, and any other Wi-Fi devices you have is operating at peak efficiency. From setup to troubleshooting, password protecting to bridging, Glenn helps you make it happen. Kirk McElhearn gives you an introduction to one of my favorite audio utilities in Take Control of Audio Hijack. Capture any audio on your Mac and enhance the process by using Audio Hijack's built-in filters and processing power. Kirk shows you just how easy it is to build powerful workflows just by dragging and dropping what you want. Kirk is also the author of Take Control of iTunes 12, the FAQ, a guide to not only Apple's increasingly important and complex media organizer and player, but also Apple Music, with all of its features and options. Take Control of Keynote by Joe Kissel isn't just a guide to Apple's stellar presentation program, but also delivers some training on how to make your presentation the best it can be, and make you the best presenter you can be. Those are just a few of the current Take Control titles that are available right now, and there are more coming. Joe Kissel will soon help you take control of upgrading to El Capitan, and Charlie McFarlane will give you a crash course on El Capitan. With all of Apple's September announcements, you can bet there will be more coming soon. That's why you need to go to TakeControlBooks.com and find out about all their titles, about their bundle pricing that makes the Take Control titles even more affordable, and lots more. That's TakeControlBooks.com. The answers you need now from leading experts. Thanks to Take Control Books for their support of MacVoices. I also want to touch on the dirty subject that we always have to talk about now, and that's money. Is this going to be a subscription magazine? Is it going to be ad-supported? How am I going to go about subscribing to it if I want to do it that way? What kind of logistics are we looking at there?
Well, it will be ad-supported. It will be free, so you can get it for free. Like instead of the Look magazine, which is it's paid. I think there's paid subscription as far as I remember. So it will be available for free with ads. Not so many ads. We prefer it could be maybe I'm over optimistic, but maybe 5-6 ads. That's enough for like 17, 18 articles in each issue. We prefer probably full page ads instead of like a half page. It's like there will be, of course, like ads and probably advertorials. But from with my experience, I never did like dirty tricks, I never marked the advertorial. I always mark advertorials, and I prefer like there's an advertiser who want to publish something that this must be a good content. People have to like or love to read it. If it's like just an advertisement and nothing really exciting, we won't publish it. And that's what I do on my blog, and I've been doing on my blog for years, and that works actually. So there will be this kind of full page advertising and a couple of advertorials, probably one for each issue. We did them in Polish edition, and they were the feedback was good because the content was good, and the page is actually set up as far as I remember, but we are waiting for the Patreon page. Yeah, we'll have a Patreon. Yeah, that's I think Steve has an experience with that, and you can say something more about Patreon.
Yeah, that's another way we're looking at doing this. As you know, Chuck, Apple World today is really trying as hard as possible to be reader supported, and we're actually doing pretty well. Fortunately, things changed over literally about the last month. Things are going much better than they were. The one thing we've found is that people will pay through something like Patreon for content that they feel is compelling, that's consistently high quality, and that really kind of speaks to them. And right now on Apple World today, we have some ads. Predominantly, they are affiliate ads of various sorts. But our eventual plan is, if we continue to grow the user support the way we are, we want to get rid of those ads. We want to just be totally reader supported. As such, that was one other thing we decided to take a look at, was using Patreon and do a per issue subscription. That's one of the things that Patreon is absolutely great about. When you come out with a new version of a work, whether it's a podcast or a magazine or drawing pictures or something like that, when you come out with that new content, the patrons will get charged at that point in time. So one thing we're looking at doing, and actually, like you said, we're working on getting the Patreon page set up, is to let users, or readers, I should say, not users, but let readers who are excited about the concept, throw their support into it. And, it'll be interesting to find out. We're not sure, exactly what kind of response we'll get. But, after seeing what we've seen over at Apple World today from our readers, I think there's a good chance that that'll be another good source of income.
I think you're in a perfect position to do this, because I think the tech people, Apple people, but tech people in general, are very much aware of this problem. We've seen a number of our favorite things just go away because it could not be supported by the traditional ad models. And yet there's so much opportunity out there to get free content. But the quality of the free content can be very good, or it can be maybe not so good. So I think and I'm not going to call any names, but I think that this is an audience that gets this and recognizes that if you want the good stuff, you want the stuff that you like to stick around, you need to fund it. Doesn't mean you have to spend a ridiculous, crazy amount of money to do it, but you throw a couple bucks over, just like you buy a T-shirt to support your favorite band, even if you don't need another T-shirt. That all helps. It really does.
That's true, and I have my own experience with that as well, because last year I was thinking what to do with my podcasts, and which is of course in Polish, so you probably can hear it, can listen to it, but you won't understand any word. But the thing was a good it's a bit similar. Well, in the way you conduct MacVoices, so there's one person and the guests. And I have a lot of guests from different companies, and I got a couple of questions, couple of offers of advertising on the podcast. But there could be a conflict, like, for example, I was talking about Apple.pl with a guy from one of the Polish banks, and probably other bank would like to have an advertisement. So that would be a big problem. So I turned towards the crowdfunding, and I asked people about what do you think about crowdfunding my podcasts, and help me to improve my equipment and all that stuff. And the campaign actually succeeded, and I got equipment. People got, of course, thanks on the page. They got T-shirts with a logo, with the thanks, of course, also on the T-shirts and all that stuff. And everybody was happy. I was happy because I could record my podcasts every week. They were happy because they helped me, and they could listen to my thank you on a couple of episodes. They were listed on the page, and they got their T-shirts, and that works. And even in Poland, the crowdfunding idea is spreading, and lot of excellent projects, lot of excellent things were founded this way.
Okay, so to wrap this up, the last thing I can think of that I want to ask about this collaboration is, how did this happen? How did you two meet? Because there seems to be a bit of geographical diversity. There's obviously no insult intended, Krystian, but there's a language issue here, because I know Steve does not speak Polish, and we talked about this before. Krystian, your English is light years better than my Polish or Steve's Polish. So how did this come about?
I guess the person we have to thank for this would be Paul Kent, because back in the day when we all used to go to Macworld Expo, that was my first experience. There was a group of us from Tua who were sitting at a table, and these guys came up and sat down, and we introduced each other, and it was Krystian, and I think Michael, is it?
Michael, Przemek, and Tomek. Yeah, there was four of us.
Yeah, so here's this group, and we got to chat with each other, and you'd see each other on the floor, and you'd wave and do that type of thing. And I always talked about Macworld as being that it's kind of the big melting pot, because people from all over come to that place, they get together, they meet each other, but they all have one thing in common. They all love Apple products. Well, I think this was 2010 or 2011?
2011, yeah. And actually at 2011, I came on my own. That was like I was kind of like trip, like journey of life, because it was my first trip to United States. And, it's like everything went very fast. I spent like 1 hour in the United States consulate in Warsaw, got a journalist visa. So, there is kind of stereotype about getting American visa in Poland. It's very hard, but it's not very hard. But it was like when you left the consulate, well, so I was so excited. Yeah, I'm going to United States. So I found myself in San Francisco, and I remember like that was crazy. It's like I was sitting in the media room. There was big round tables, like for the Knights of the Round Table, seriously huge tables. And I was like sitting, after like spending 5 hours on the trade show floor, so on the first floor, walking, from one booth to another. So I was a bit tired, and I sat down at the table with a group of people, and I was like starting, writing stuff on my MacBook, and I just start to, look at them. And the first person actually I recognized was Krystian, because I was watching your videos at TUAU, and I said, oh God, this guy's from TUAU. I read their article, I watched their videos. God, and I was like, okay, what to say? I said, hi, okay, what to say more? And I couldn't say any word, but I had my MacBook Pro 13-inch that was signed by Wozniak a couple of months before. Yeah. So I think Dave called, just asking, oh, what's that? Is this Wozniak signature? I said, yes. And we start talking, and that day at night there was a 2-hour party at Jillian's bar, and we start talking, and And I remember like next year we were just friends. I remember like a couple of weeks before the 2012 Macworld, I just found myself on the chat about your like live chat and video.
Yeah.
And just said hello from Poland. He said, "Oh," he said, "I remember you." So and from that time we met each other every year at Macworld until the show was suspended. Well, the suspended is kind of euphemism, it's killed, in my opinion. There won't be a Macworld anymore. So. And I miss it. I very miss it. Seriously, like last year, of course, we switched to CES, and we went to CES last year, and we'll be going to CES this. We went to CES this year, January, and we'll be going next year. And there's nothing close to Macworld. Of course, the trade show is so huge. There's a lot of companies and a lot of great stuff. But there's even parties. But the thing is, Macworld was kind of like an excellent excuse for pilgrimage of Apple fans.
Yeah.
Even to drink beer together, to talk. Seriously, I never the number of accessories you could find on the trade floor, on the trade show floor, like like a lot of cases for iPhones. Well, okay, fine. But you can find them everywhere. But meeting developers, meeting journalists, bloggers, talking to people, that was the most important factor of Macworld. And actually, I still can't believe it, it's over. And because they could be saved somehow, not as a trade show, but as a kind of like Apple user fair or something like that.
So let me get this straight. So you come the whole way from Poland to San Francisco, and the first guy you start to talk to is Steve?
Yeah, something like that.
And you came back?
Yeah, well, I was coming back every year.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I didn't scare him away.
I'm a little bit blown away by this concept.
Well, it was just so much fun, because, seriously, like the next year, I think there were 4 of you that came to Macworld and, got to know the entire crew and the TUAU people and the folks from my Apple.pl were just, it's kind of like, we got together pretty well, and I'm glad it's continued. I'm really happy that the entire friendship has really actually grown since then. But if it hadn't been for that, silly Macworld Expo and just sitting at a table across from each other and everything, this never would have happened.
Yeah, so we hear so many stories like that too,
cool.
about Macworld. That in the press room, in the speakers lounge, on the show floor, you make these sort of random connections that bear fruit, years later. So, so how about the specifics here, guys? How we know as of this recording, it's not out just yet, but it will be any day now. Where do we go to get it? How is it going to be delivered? Can we subscribe to it, or is it just going to be announced by, say, a mailing list, or how does this work?
Couple different ways that we know of right now, and this may change in the next couple of days, but we will have a website that should be up by the time this is available, called myapplemagazine.com. Very easy to go to there, and that will have links to the various downloads, as well as kind of a direction, I should say, over to the Patreon page. And then, Krystian, you can kind of speak to how the apps work.
Well, the app, we are waiting for the approval of the app, actually. And it took, so far it took, 2 or 3 weeks, and we didn't have this problem with the Polish version of the magazine. It was approved instantly almost. So we'll be probably applying for approval again in a couple of days, and when the magazine is ready, so there is content, and guys at Apple can actually check and says, okay, this is magazine. Okay, they won't put any strange things in it. So I think that was the problem. And so the app should be available in a couple of days, or in about a week, I think. And as I said, it will be of course, free of charge, and it will be available in America on probably every app store, in the app store, because the number of apps differs in each national app store, but it will be available, of course, in the United States App Store, and you will get an app, the magazine, in 2 versions, as I said. So if you open it on iPad, it will be different layout. If you open it on iPhone, it will be also different layout. So you will be, you will be able to read it easily on both devices. As Steve said, it will be available also through the website, myapplemagazine.com. But of course, we also write about it on myapple.pl, and probably Steve write about
World today.
So, but of course, the magazine should have its own website, so like kind of central hub for it.
Yeah, we'll also be doing a mailing. Apple World Today has it's definitely not as big a mailing list as myapple.pl has, but we will be sending out a note to our subscribers, letting them know that the magazine is available, and kind of talking about the relationship between the 2 sites.
Yeah. We probably also send it with the next newsletter together with the Polish version. But of course, it won't be we probably won't show the statistics for this kind of mailing, because we know that probably every Polish user will open it just to check out what the guys are doing in English, So it won't be, let's say, very representative number, So that's the thing. But we of course, we will also distribute it in Poland, because there's a lot of people that can speak English, so why not? And of course, the content will differ a bit. So not everything which is in My Apple magazine will be available in Polish My Apple magazine. So a bit different in the word. One letter, I and Y between the types.
Yeah, we're also hoping that we can get the word out to readers in, of course, New Zealand,
Sure.
Australia, Great Britain, Canada. Wait, they don't speak English in Canada. They speak Canadian. So
He said it, folks. I did not.
sorry, I just had to do that.
Well, guys, I think it's a fantastic collaboration, and I love the fact that it came out of Macworld. I love the fact that it came out of two guys sitting down at a bar and getting to know each other. And here it is a couple of years later, and you're launching a magazine together. I also love the fact that it's Apple focused. And Steve, what was your word, potpourri? That kind of strikes me as an interesting approach to this, because if I'm an Apple fan, maybe I do want a little bit of news. Maybe I want some stories of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in the early days, right up there beside discussion of something El Capitan related. So I think that's going to be great. And I've had a chance to see at least the table of contents of the first issue, and I'm excited to see just how it all develops. So I really mean it. Congratulations on this. This is a fantastic thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
And I hope we'll have you both back one way or another, together or separately, because I think there's just a lot to be said here. And of course, the Apple world is absolutely an exciting place. So, Krystian, great to have you for the first time here. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Steve, always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me back, Chuck.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. By all means, go check out my Apple at the websites indicated. I'll have links in the show notes to everything that I can find as it goes live, and we'll try to keep those updated as more things come online. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by Cashfly at cashfly.com.